Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Remember to hit the subscribe button. I'm going to give you 5 seconds to hit subscribe. Hit subscribe. Yes, I'm talking to you. Hit subscribe. Hit subscribe. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. And don't forget to drop a comment and like the video as well. All right? Yes. You subscribe yet? Subscribe now, no man. Subscribe. All right. So for this video, we will be doing the January 2020 Social Studies Paper 2. All right. I'll be sharing my screen now. And then, yes, see. After the girls say yes, in a Charlie's Angels. What's Charlie's Angels? All right. Me know nobody put in the comments, my blab too much and was get a lot. With answering the question. That's how rude somebody was one time. But anyway, that's for another time. All right, so this is the January 2020 paper 2, as I said before. Let me show you that. That's the paper that we are doing. Yes, see there. January 2020 Social Studies paper 2. See that on the screen? All right, that's the paper that we are doing. We'll do the May, June 2019 last time. All right, good. So section A, 1A, this says define the term marriage. Marriage is the legally recognized union of two people as partners in a personal relationship, right? Very good. Simple definition for marriage. Good. Next question now says outline 2 reasons why a married couple would choose legal separation rather than divorce. No, it's 1 reason, you know. But because I have about 3 different reasons. So yeah, 1 reason why a married couple would choose legal separation rather than divorce. 1 reason why a married couple would choose legal separation rather than divorce is for religious purposes. Some religions forbid divorce. So some people will remain legally married, but legally separated because their religion scoffs on divorce, right? Another reason would be to keep the family together for the sake of the children, because some children don't do well with divorce and it leaves a blot on their mental capacity as they grow older. So they might think that marriages don't work and they don't want to get married, or the divorce might have some psychological impact on the children. So some couples might decide to be legally separated rather than being divorced. All right, B now says outline 2 factors that contribute to the change in roles and responsibilities of family members in the Caribbean. So 2 factors that contribute to the change in roles and responsibilities of family members in the Caribbean. One of the major contributory factors is women now seeking employment. Remember, traditional role, the man was the breadwinner and the woman would stay at home, do domestic duties and comfort the man when he gets home, right? But now we see that that role is changing. Women are going out there and becoming employed. Good. Another reason is more educational opportunities for women. It was the boys who were encouraged to go further on in school, especially after secondary education, right? A lot of the jobs that we have today were once male dominated, like a doctor, a teacher, a lawyer, police personnel. I almost said policeman because you know that boy, police job is still male dominated, right? So those kinds of jobs were male dominated, but with more educational opportunities for women, women are now taking over jobs that were once dominated by men. So that has caused their roles to change because they are no longer as domesticated as before. Good. Another factor that contributes to the change in roles and responsibility of family members in the Caribbean is the marginalization of males. Males are no longer seen as being the center of the family, but they have veered off either to the right or to the left, right? Because many women have decided that they are independent and they can do without a man, right? Some men have decided to become quote unquote gruff and not standing up to their responsibilities anymore. So they're not taking care of their children. So their young sons grow up thinking or believing that it is okay to replicate the same kind of rough behavior. All right. Next question now says, CI says, suggest 3 actions that parents may take to prepare children to become responsible adults. Next part says, explain why each action you suggested may be effective in helping parents to prepare their children to become responsible adults. So, actions parents may take to prepare children to become responsible adults and justification of the action. Remember, you give the action and then you justify the action to get the full marks. All right. So one action that parents may take to prepare children to become responsible adults is number 1 is the parents setting a positive example for the children to follow. Why is this likely to work? Why is it likely to be successful, right? Children live what they learn. And if they see their parents behaving in a particular way, more often than not, they are going to want to replicate that behavior, or they are going to believe that that sort of behavior is okay. So if the parents living loving, taking care of them, giving the children a voice, setting down rules and sanctions if the rules are broken, then more often than not, they are going to grow into become almost the same kind of adult where they find loving relationships and they grow their children in a particular positive light. Are we following? Very good. All right, next one. Parents can grant more freedom when teens prove that they can make good decisions. Remember that you can't lock up children in a box. You have to teach them responsibility, but you can't throw all the responsibilities on them at once. So you lengthen like a rope. You give them bit by bit, as my pastor would say. Bit by bit, or in Jamaica, my mother would say, liquor by liquor. Understand? So if they become masters over small things, then you step it up a notch and help them to become masters over greater things. This is likely to be successful because if they realize that they are given a particular responsibility, and if they do well, then you allow them a step further or a length further, then they are going to want to behave themselves in a particular way so that they can get more freedom to prove how much more responsible they are or they can be. All right? Very good. Ask children to help out around the house, because helping out around the house by doing chores, learning life skills, because chores are life skills, you know. Children need to learn how to wash, how to iron, how to cook, how to clean, because remember that women are no longer domesticated. So do not teach the young boys that domestication is for women only. No, they have to learn how to cook, wash, and clean so that women don't take advantage of them, right? Ladies also learn life skills, because sometimes when you get helper, maybe not go down that line, but several problems can occur from this. So learn life skills so that when you go out into the world, you will become a responsible adult, because certain things you would have already knew how to do them. All right? That's that. Let's look at the next question now. Next question says, right, question 2. Remember, all 4 questions in this section will be compulsory. The choice will be among communications, consumer affairs, and tourism. So this section A, 1 to 4, all questions are compulsory, including the dreaded regional integration. Question 2AI says, state the name of the main type of government system which existed in the Commonwealth Caribbean countries before independence. All right. So the old government systems before independence was called Crown Colony government. State 1 characteristics of this type of government. 1 characteristic is that there was a governor in charge of the colony who was appointed by the monarch, and monarch represents the king or the queen at a particular time in the particular country. All right, great. So BI says, state two types of government systems adopted by Commonwealth Caribbean countries after they gained independence. After countries in the Caribbean or in the Commonwealth gained independence, there are two styles of government that were adopted. Constitutional monarchy, like what we have in Jamaica, or the republic that is in Guyana and Trinidad and Tobago. There are two types of republics, but we'll get into that at another time. No, we're not going to get into that at another time. I have an extensive video on government on my channel that you can check out and hear me discuss the two republics at length. All right, great. II now says, outline one difference and one similarity between the two types of government systems identified above. So one similarity and one difference, all right? The difference is that constitutional monarchy has a governor general that represents the monarch, while the republic has no governor general. None of the two types of republics has any governor general, but constitutional monarchy has a governor general that represents the queen or the monarch. All right, the similarity is constitutional monarchy has a prime minister that has executive power, and the parliamentary republic, like in Trinidad and Tobago, also has a prime minister that has executive power. Remember, I said that there are two types, but you can watch my government video because I don't want to get into that. Here, I want to focus on the questions. All right, good. C now says, the government of your country is having difficulties providing adequate health care for its citizens due to limited resources. I now says, suggest 3 strategies this government may employ in its effort to create and maintain a healthy population. I know says, for each strategy provided, explain one reason why it is likely to be successful. So you need to provide the strategy that the government can employ to create and maintain a healthy population, and also justify that strategy. So think now, what do you think governments can do to create and maintain a healthy population? Think about it. All right. So one of the things that the government can do is start an education campaign, right? Telling people why it is important to maintain a good health, because if people don't know, then they can't do better. Ignorance is one of the biggest diseases in the entire world. If people don't know, they can't do better. And some people genuinely don't know. You understand? So the government needs to start an educational campaign to tell people about the benefits of being healthy or what they can do to become healthy. This is going to be successful because if people don't know, then they can learn and also realize the importance of maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Good. Another one is to put up flyers and billboards with the information, run ads on TV so that people can actually see. Next one is to have family health to be taught as a subject in schools, not tied with food and nutrition or tied with HFL, something like that. But family health to be taught as a subject. This is going to be important because persons are going to get information, again, that they can use at their own disposal. Another way, how they can create and maintain a healthy population, outlawing some type of food that might be unhealthy for people. Remember that ban on sweet drinks in schools? The government a lot of times put a lot of things on the books, but they are not maintained. How many schools sweet drinks still being sold in a lot of schools? So the government needs to enforce certain things. After the legislation has been brought to Parliament and passed, there needs to be some form of enforcement, right? This is going to be successful because persons don't want to pay a fine or they don't want to go to jail. So they're just going to conform, especially if there is high levels of enforcement. Because if it's not being enforced, then highly unlikely that people are going to follow it. Are we following? Yes, yes, yes. Yes, my bright students. Now we're at question 3. We're almost finished because remember, this is part 1. I mean questions 1 to 4, part 1. Then I'll be doing the option section in part 2, or as my friend would say, part few. All right. 3AI says, define the term dependency ratio. Dependency ratio is the ratio of the number of dependent people in a society to the number of economically active people. I know says the dependency ratio of a Caribbean country in 2017 was 51.5. What does that figure mean? 51.5. What does that figure mean? It's pretty simple. That figure means that there's a high dependency rate and half of the population is very much dependent on those who are actively working. Now, let's look at these diagrams. The figure below shows the population pyramid of a Caribbean country in 1990 and 2015. Study these pyramids carefully, then answer the questions which follow. Look at the pyramid carefully, look at the key that they give you or the indicators. So over here on my left is 1990. On my right is 2015. Now looking at the screen, it might be a little bit different too. All right, so the darkly shaded part represents the women. The lightly shaded part represents the men. At the base is the percentage of the population that falls into each age group that is in the middle, right? And we are going from down to up. So from youngest to oldest. That's how we read these population pyramids, right? So in 1990, amount of males being born 0 to 4 was about a little over 8%. For the females, a little under 8%, right? So you can see that at the base of the pyramid. Good. So there was a, just interpreting the pyramid now, there was a higher birth rate in 1990 than in 2015. We can see that, right? The aging population has grown from 1990 to 2015. We realize that the youthful part of the population has gotten smaller in 2015 than in 1990. This is more than likely due to migration, right? Or what we call brain drain. But we don't know for sure because we cannot be absolute because there's no information to say that. It could also be that a lot of the young persons have died out, maybe because of violence or because of lifestyle illnesses. Because you know, if people are not eating right and exercise, then they can develop lifestyle illnesses like hypertension, diabetes, heart conditions. People might become obese and have breathing problems and might die. Understand that, ladies and gentlemen? So that's how we interpret the diagrams. And we do this without even looking at the questions. So when you interpret this way, no matter what they ask you, you'll be able to answer the questions because you would have understood what the diagrams were actually saying. Are we following? Very good. Excellent. All right. So first question now says, which age group comprised the largest percentage of the population in 1990? Please compare both pyramids. Which age group? If we look closely, we see that in 1990, the youthful population was probably the largest, but we need the specific age group that comprised the largest percentage of the population in 1990. And if we look closely, we can see that is age 25 to 29. Because that age group is actually larger than everything else. Are we seeing it on the 1990 population? Remember, this one over to my left is 1990. We can see that, right? Yes. So ages 25 to 29 comprises the largest percentage of the population. Next now says there are 2 ways in which the age structure of the population changed from 1990 to 2015. Remember, we would have discussed that at the onset, right? Larger aging population in 2015 than 1990. Smaller youth section of the population in 2015 than in 1990. Next part of the question says, outline one way in which an understanding of the changes in the sex structure, age-sex structure of the population may help the government to plan its spending. Outline one way in which an understanding of the changes in the age structure of the population may help the government with its spending. More education and training for the youth, right? Because if it shows that a lot of youth are in the population, then this will say to the government that more education and training facilities need to be put in place to adequately prepare these persons for the working world. If there's a large aging population, then certain social services and care for the elderly must be in place. Social service, like we need poor relief houses for them. We need to ensure that their health is being taken care of. They can get medication at a reduced rate. And also we need to ensure that those who become, what's that word now? Who become retired, right? They are getting their pension and getting it on time. All right. I seem to have missed a question. Oh no, I have not. I think I missed the question. Anyway. C now says the development of human resources requires Commonwealth Caribbean governments to place greater emphasis on technical and vocational education and improving access to tertiary education. I says, suggest to the Minister of Education 3 changes that could be made to the programs in educational institutions that may help to prepare citizens for the world of work in this technological age. Next part of the question says, explain how each of the changes you suggested is likely to be successful. So suggest changes that may help prepare citizens for the world of work in this technological age and justify the change that you are suggesting. All right. 1 is that these educational institutions could offer programs that are in demand in the working world, especially in this technological age. So stop offering programs that are not in demand, or try and give young persons, or let me not say young persons, citizens, some kind of working workshop or information to say, these are the kinds of jobs that are in demand, not only locally, but worldwide. So think about doing these things so that it is almost certain that when they leave college or the educational institution, then they are almost guaranteed a job, because we don't want people to be trained and then when they are finished, they can't get a job, because that doesn't make sense. If that is done, then it's going to reduce the unemployment levels and also give people greater spending power. The government can get revenue, indirect and direct taxation. Great. Then they can also make the programs more affordable. If the programs are made more affordable, it means that more people will have access to these programs, thus getting some form of certification so that they can go out into the working world and secure a job. Good. Also, these programs can be more practical and less theory, because sometimes a lot of the programs are heavy theory and a little bit of practical. When the persons have finished their studies, when they go out into the working world, it's difficult for them to function because everything is in a book or on a paper. People need to get hands-on experience. So when they go out in the working world, they have a field or they have an idea of what they are supposed to be doing. Are we following, ladies and gentlemen? Very good. So that's how we do it. Easy does it. Okay, let's now go to question 4, which is the dreaded regional integration. I love this question because this question is pretty easy. Don't say it is easy for me because I am the teacher. No, this is just generally easy. You don't have to know a lot about regional integration, but you can actually reason out this question. Common sense can help you to reason out this question. All right, it says natural disasters A major challenge to development in the Caribbean region. Write an essay on the topic above in which you, 1, define the term natural disaster and name 2 different types of natural hazards that can affect the region. 2, explain 2 ways in which natural disasters affect the economies of Caribbean countries. C, suggest 3 ways in which Caribbean countries may work together to cope with and recover quickly from disasters. And finally, outline 1 reason why each way is likely to be successful. Good. You are going to write this essay, indent and start a paragraph for each part of the question, right? Do not tabulate your points. You don't need to skip a line. You don't need a thesis statement, or you don't need a concluding paragraph. No, you don't need that for social study. You answer only what the question asks, or only what CXC asks. That is what you're going to answer for this regional integration essay. All right, and this question is pretty easy. So let's get into it now. Define the term natural disaster. Simply, that is what it is asking. You can Google it. You can look in your textbook for a definition. So let me just give you 5 seconds so that you can Google a definition for a natural disaster. And I'm counting you down because I'm serious right now. So your 5 seconds is up. Here, when we say 5 seconds, I think that is collective, you know. So we can use is. Yeah, a little English language right there. So let me hear your definition for natural disaster. All right, yes, very good. Give yourself a clap. That's a very good definition for natural disaster. All right, so I'm going to share my definition with you now for a natural disaster. So a natural disaster is a sudden and terrible event in nature, such as a hurricane, a tornado, a volcano, that results in serious damage and loss of life. Good. Next part says 2 different types of natural hazards that can affect the region. So you're going to say 2 types of natural hazards that can affect the region are hurricane and earthquake. Good. I will say what happened in St. Vincent. There was a volcanic eruption. I will see how it displaced people. So as I said, you can really reason out this question because it's pretty easy. Good. Next part of the question now says, explain 2 ways in which natural disasters affects the economy of Caribbean countries. One way in which natural disasters affect the economies of Caribbean countries is that natural disasters tend to destroy tangible assets of companies such as buildings and equipment. This reduces production capacity, meaning less money being earned by business people. You know, when less money, prices are going to go up. People might be temporarily laid off or permanently laid off, which gives them less spending power. Good. Next way is that people may lose their jobs, right? Farm, lands, and crops might be destroyed. And we know that when the crops are destroyed, then the prices of those crops are going to skyrocket. So it means then that the demand is going to be greater, the supply is going to be less, so the prices are going to be high, and a lot of persons won't be able to purchase these things. Sometimes the farmers too, the amount of money that they were getting before the natural disaster, they're going to get less now, so they're going to have less spending power. The government have less taxes to get directly and indirectly, and that is going to be very bad for the economy. Good. Next part now says, suggest 3 ways in which Caribbean countries may work together to cope with and recover quickly from these disasters. Then you're going to justify the ways that you gave in which Caribbean countries may work together to cope with and recover quickly from disaster. One way that they can work together is create a disaster fund that each Caribbean country contributes to, either on a monthly basis, a quarterly basis, or a yearly basis. When there is a disaster that happens in a particular country, that particular country can pull from those resources to help them in the time of disaster. This is going to be successful because a lot of Caribbean countries are situated in a disaster zone, right? For us in Jamaica, we have a hurricane season from June 1 to the 30th of November. Within that time, we can experience a hurricane or several hurricanes, right? We tend to have a lot of heavy rains that results in a lot of flooding. good and a lot of damage, lives are lost, right? If countries, I should say, sorry, contribute to that disaster fund, they are guaranteed that if God forbids there's a natural disaster that happens in that country, then they are guaranteed a certain amount of funds or resources to help. But then they are going to be happy to contribute to this because this is almost guaranteed and it's going to be for the betterment of them, right? Next is that Caribbean countries as a group can send support, relief, or aid to the country that has been affected. This is going to show the unification of CARICOM countries or countries that are a part of the CSME, right? And just show that countries have a good heart overall, right? And if you help me, I will help you. Persons will be willing to help because they know that because of where we are located, we are susceptible to natural hazards at almost anytime. So what happens to one, highly likely that it might happen to another. So they might want to help somebody in case a natural disaster happens to them, then they can also receive help. All right, so a third one is needed. And for you now, I must give you something to do. I can't do all the work. Come on now. I've been doing all the work for over 20 minutes now. So I'm going to ask you to come up with one way in which Caribbean countries may work together to cope with and recover quickly from disasters, then justify that I say why it's likely to be successful in the comment section. So that's what I want you to do. So go ahead and come up with your way and put it in the comment section. All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching. Remember to subscribe. Jump over to my other YouTube channel, Las Corey Fences on YouTube, Corey Fences, and also hit the subscribe button over there and watch the videos because they're fun. Yeah, watch them. Yeah, like that. Now for say 40. You see me? Big up on yourself. Thank you guys for watching. Let me get back professional now. Yes. Thank you guys for watching.